Hello once again, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Please, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do to subscribe, and then also like and comment below if you have any challenges. So in the previous video we looked at breakpoints, right? So the breakpoints were quite simple, so I would use that same folder for the next one, which is containers. So we're going to look at containers. I know for YouTube videos it's good to also look at the fundamentals. When you understand these basic fundamentals, building a website becomes very easy. It's better than just copying and pasting codes. So let's go on. Okay, so those who haven't seen this, you can just copy and paste this code. I would leave a link to the codes in the description below, so you can just copy and paste, or you could just code along with me. Okay, so those who have done it already, you can also look at the previous video to see how we would come along with this. Okay, so let's look at containers. So containers are quite interesting. I think if you understood breakpoints, it will be very easy for you to understand containers. There are three different types of containers. So you have the container here, right? And then you have the one with the breakpoint, and then you have the one with the fluid. Now the concept of container is very simple. Let me give you an example. So let's use this code here. So you have this code here, right? The usual container you see for most websites is they just use the container. You just type container here, right? So container, as the name suggests, it contains. So it gives you kind of like a layout for you to fill in your content, and depending on the settings of your container, your content might have a pattern or not. So let's look at this. When you use the default just container, what it means is that when the screen is small, then your content would cover 100% of the width. So look at this page as it changes. So this is just a normal container, right? The default container is for the smallest. So let's see what happens. So as the screen enlarges, you can see that the container, which is this one, right, it gives you kind of like a margin, right, between the total width of your page and then the content of your page. So the content of the page is kind of like moved away as the screen enlarges. So let's reduce the screen and see what happens. So when we reduce the screen, so this is the size, you could see that it's quite big, right? But as you keep reducing the width of our page, the gap also reduces, right? So that's the container space, or you could say the pattern, right, between your content and then the screen size keeps reducing. And then for the default container, it keeps reducing till it gets to the smallest size. So at the smallest size, see what happens. At the smallest size, it becomes 100%. So this is for mobile devices. On PCs or other big screens, you need this thing because it's hard for you to fill the whole page starting from the beginning to the end. It doesn't look nice, right? Even when you look at this Bootstrap website, they are using a container here, right? So they leave all this side empty, and then they only have the bar. So this in a container, right? And the same applies here. There's also a container. So you have the spaces here, right? And then when the size reduces for a very small device like a phone, let me use the inspect and let's see. So for a very small device like a phone, an iPhone, what happens is that you see the container is gone, and then we have the width being equal to the width of the content, right? So it covers the whole space. Let's use other devices here. So you see, depending on the size of the device, right, the container or the margin between the content and then the screen size increases or reduces. So this is for containers, right? So you can specify if you don't like this attribute of containers having to reduce the width of your content, you could then use container fluid. But before the container fluid, you could also specify the containers like the way we specified the columns, right? The breakpoints. So you could say container, right? Let's look at it here. So you could say container small, could say container medium, container large. Let's use container large. Let me use the large. Just a quick example. So when you use the large, what does it mean? It means that as soon as the size is at the point of large size, right? If it's less than the large size, then it just removes the space between your container and then the width. So you see, this is large. So you see, it's gone. So when it big like this, as soon as it gets to large size, and then it just removes everything, right? So this is different from the default container, right? So you see, it gets to the end 100% width when the screen is large, right? Okay, and anything less than large is where it also removes it. But anything bigger than large, then the space also shows. Now let's go to medium. Let me just show you medium quickly. So you see, medium would allow, so you still have the space here for medium, you still have the space here for medium till it's less than medium, then it's gone, right? So this is container, and you could decide to use fluid. So you could have a container fluid. It's good to know these terminologies before you start even building a website. So what happens is when you have the fluid, you can see that everything is gone, right? So it just takes 100% of the width of the screen, right? So your viewpoint is 100%, the content is 100% because it's fluid. So whilst it reduces, it still covers 100% of everything, right? So the width is 100%. All right, so that's all for containers. It's a very simple concept. You can always review this when you have the time, and when you go through perhaps other tutorials or other codes and you don't understand why they use some terms, you can come to my website. You can come to my website or on my channel. I will do to break into details the very small information that people leave out in their videos. This is very important. And if you like my YouTube video, please click. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube video, my YouTube channel. And I'll see you in another video. Thank you so much. Bye.